Good morning. It is Tuesday, the 15th of November. And over the weekend, we began looking at the book of the prophet Habakkuk. Habakkuk, written just before the fall of Jerusalem to the Babylonian army. Habakkuk, as a prophet, a minor prophet, but certainly also a contemporary of Jeremiah, one of the major prophets. And it is highly probable that this was written just before the attack by the Babylonians and the capture of and the destruction of Jerusalem. And it is highly probable that Habakkuk may still have been alive when the Babylonians attacked. And the style of writing that Habakkuk uses is narrative. It's as if it is his story and his interaction with the Lord. That's certainly how he writes if we read it simply as it is written. And yet there is that element that says to us that Habakkuk, in writing about himself personally, is actually representing all the righteous people of Jerusalem and of Israel. How is it that God can permit such evil atrocities to take place within the nation of Israel? Such terrible kings to have risen, such corruption. We think perhaps even of our own country. How is it that the ruling party can have stooped so low and have done so many dastardly things? How is this possible? Where is God? We're talking back to Israel now. Where is God in all of this? And so Habakkuk is only 3 chapters long. And in the first chapter, Habakkuk has this conversation. It's almost as if he's challenging God, but he's challenging him from a position of a lack of knowledge. Habakkuk is not entirely aware of what's going on, although in his mind he knows exactly what's going on because he's focusing on all the little things. And the little things become so important that they become big things and they obscure the big picture. So the little things become the storm in a teacup and we lose perspective. And that should remind us of pretty much some of the teaching and the experiences of Job and Jonah that we looked at earlier this year. Anyway, there is Habakkuk complaining, and then God begins to answer him. And in a sense, it almost confuses Habakkuk even further because prophetically, God is going to use the Babylonians to capture and destroy Jerusalem and Israel. And again, Habakkuk is thrown and said, but how is it possible? Because Israel, we certainly can see they are not righteous, but the Babylonians are even worse. And Lord, if you cannot stand, I'm paraphrasing, in the presence of sin, how is it even possible then that you can use a nation that is so much more sinful than Israel? And God has to instruct Habakkuk and the people that this is the way of God, and don't be caught up by that little event, because ultimately even the Babylonians will be destroyed. And so Habakkuk 3, which is what we read today, the whole of chapter 3, concludes with Habakkuk realizing that his own lack of knowledge, as clever as he may think he is, but ultimately his lack of knowledge obscures the greater vision of what God is doing. And Habakkuk learns, and thereby the message to all of Israel who are righteous, not a laissez-faire waiting for God, but an understanding that sometimes the ways of God are way beyond the comprehension of us human beings. And we need to just wait and trust, sometimes in silence, sometimes with huge questions and our jaw dropping open and big eyeballs as we watch what's happening and think, where is God in all of this? That we need, as Habakkuk comes to discover, we need to have the faith in God. And those incredible words, and again, I'll paraphrase them in chapter 3, verses 17 to 19. Though the fig tree does not blossom, there are no grapes on the vine, the sheep are not in the field, the cows, the cattle are not in their pens, there's no wheat in the field, everything is gone, and yet I will trust in God. What an incredible sign of faith that is. And so often, even in today's age, we often refer back to Habakkuk 3, 17 to 19. May that be our prayer going forward, that we do not know what is happening, but God does. And we need to just trust and have faith that God knows. And God is not going to have to, he does not have to tell us everything and all of his plans, but just trust and have faith in God, whatever's happening in your life. Folks, have a wonderful day, and we'll chat again tomorrow. God bless.